What do the two have in common? The first one has love towards God. The second one has love towards your neighbor. So he gave us one law, the law of love. The law of love. Okay? Not legalism. Not pointing the finger saying, ooh, you're not supposed to be doing that. Ooh, you're being legalistic, blah, 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 blah. My relationship with God is between me and God. I don't have to answer to you. You don't have to answer to me, right? But love ought to be the motivating factor behind all things that we do. Our love for God and our willingness to serve him, okay, and obey him. Welcome back, everyone, to the Pages of Life Bible Study. I'm Will. Today we're going to entertain the idea of Shabbat, or the Sabbath, as we say it here in the West. And we raised the question in a previous video about are we required as Christians, as believers, to keep the Sabbath, to do nothing on God's holy day, the Shabbat, if you speak Hebrew. And so we want to entertain that, because I think the problem here in the West in particular is that we have a lack of understanding of the Shabbat. We read the Bible, but we don't understand the culture behind the Bible, because we are so far removed from the actual environment in which the narrative of the Bible was given. Okay, so it's important for us to understand the things that we do. All right, so let's go to the book of Genesis chapter 2, verse 1. All right, in Genesis chapter 2, verse 1, it reads, we're going to actually read 1, 2, and 3. Okay, thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. Okay, you see that, right? Let's bring it down there. And on the seventh day, of creation, God ended his work which he had made, and he rested. You see that? On the seventh day from all his work which he, God, had made. Okay? And God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made. All right? So, a interesting thing about the Sabbath, the seventh day, I'm sorry. We tend to speak in terms of Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. God doesn't follow the pagan system that we follow. Okay, God always refers to it as the way he created it: day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6, and day 7, also known as the Sabbath or the Shabbat. Okay, all right, now let's go ahead and dive into explaining the Shabbat, right? Why did God set aside this particular day? We're told in the book of St. Mark. Let me make sure I put that over. Let's go there first. Yeah. We're told in the book of St. Mark, verse 27, and he said unto them, Yeshua speaking, the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. Okay, so the Sabbath has a benefit attached to it, and that benefit is for you and I. Okay, that benefit is for you and I. Now, to make short work of the question, should we as Christians keep the Sabbath? The answer is no. No, we don't have to. Why? Christ is the end of the law to them that believe, right? Christ is the end of the law to them that believe. We don't have to keep the Sabbath, right? But now let's go in and understand. Let's go and understand something. Let's go to Romans 14. And I'm sure some of you Bible enthusiasts have already referenced this verse, right? Let's look at verse 5 and 6. Romans 14, verse 5 and 6. One man esteemeth one day above another, right? This is Paul. Another esteemeth every day alike. Let every man, individually, let every man be fully persuaded in his own mind. Okay? Let every man be fully persuaded in his own mind. Verse 6. He that regardeth the day regardeth it unto the Lord, and he that regardeth not the day, to the Lord he doth not regard it. And he that eateth to the Lord, for he giveth God thanks, and he that eateth not to the Lord, he eateth not and giveth God thanks. In other words, we ought not to look down our nose at someone because they are not practicing some of the things that we're practicing. Remember now, we're still in Romans, so let's look at what it says in let's see, verse 4. Who art thou that judgest another man's servant? To his own master he standeth or falleth. Yea, he shall be holding up. Why? For God is able to make him stand. All right. So if you see someone practicing something that maybe you don't practice, well, one, maybe they don't know. And so we should afford them what? Grace. We should afford them grace. Or maybe they know something that you and I don't know. Right? So we ought not to be so quick to cast that stone towards a person because they're doing something that we are not particularly doing. Okay. No two relationships with Christ are identical. He deals with us uniquely based on who we are. I stress the fact that Jeremiah was not like Isaiah. Isaiah was not like Ezekiel. Ezekiel was not like Daniel. They are all different in their own respect, right? So God interacts with you and I in a different way based on the character of who we are. Okay. Now, if you regard the day, you regard it unto the Lord. Truly, this is a day that the Lord hath made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. We ought to treat every day equivalent. Why? It wasn't promised to you. It's a gift. It's a blessing, right? So the notion that we reserve a particular day, that's a personal conviction and ought not to be blanketed on everybody just because you do it, right? Now, the short answer is no. We don't have to keep the Shabbat. The more convoluted answer is yes, you should. You don't have to, but you should when you are afforded the opportunity to. All right. So now let's see if we can understand what Shabbat means. All right. So let's go to the board. And we're going to write out the word Shabbat. Okay. This is Shabbat written out. Okay. That says Shabbat. Shin, Beit, Tav. Okay. Now let's put our symbols down so that we can see what it is telling us. Okay. Shin. What is the symbol for shin? Teeth, right? Teeth. Destroy. Separate, right? This is the bait. Okay. The second letter of the Hebrew alphabet. Its symbol is tent, a house. Okay. And this is the last letter of the Hebrew alphabet, the Tav, right? Its symbol is the cross. You see that, right? Okay. Now, let's understand what each symbol means. Here, the shin is press, destroy, separate, right? Right? Okay. separate. This is the bait, which means house, temple, family, or it also means in, the word in, as opposed to out. Okay, so in. All right. The tav means mark, sign, or covenant. So, what does Shabbat mean? Shabbat simply means we are separated in covenant. Shabbat means to be separated in covenant to the Lord. That's what it means, to be separated in covenant. Okay? Now, let's go and look real quick at the Bible. Let's take a physical look at the Bible. This is the second chapter of the Holy Bible. Book of Genesis, chapter 1. This is chapter 2. Notice that the seventh day is separated from the other 6. All 6 days are contained in chapter 1. When we get to chapter 2, God now concludes by incorporating the 7th day. Even in the writing of the Bible itself, God has set apart the 7th day to itself by including it in another chapter. You see that? Day 1 through 6 are all found in Genesis chapter 1. Chapter 2, the Shabbat is separated and placed in the second chapter. I find that fascinating. Okay? So you and I are separated because of our relationship to Christ. We are now separated unto God in covenant, right? Now, it's interesting that the last letter of Shabbat reminds us of the covenant that we're separated by, the covenant of his blood on the cross that day he died. You see that? We are separated in covenant to God. Okay? Now, the Shabbat is the only day of the creation that is included in the 10 Commandments. Okay? What does it say? Remember the Sabbath. Remember the Shabbat to keep it holy. Okay? So, let's see. What are the benefits of the Shabbat? 1, the blessing of rest, that your body, your physical body, may rest. God does not smile on idleness, on laziness. You'll notice in the text that throughout the Bible always frowns on a lazy man. Always. It talks about a contentious woman, but it speaks about a lazy man. Okay? So we are to work. The blessing of rest, right? That's one of the benefits of Shabbat. Your body is able to rest. Your body is able to rest, right? To remember thy creator. To remember thy creator. Shockingly as it is, we can forget God. We can forget God. That's why the enemy works so hard to bombard your life with distraction after distraction after distraction. And so the Shabbat serves as a time, for your bodies to be rested, your spirits to be refreshed and renewed, and a time when you can deliberately, intentionally unplug from everything. No television, no phone, no No shopping, no going here, no going there, but literally be still and know that he is God, to remember thy creator. All right. And then number 3, to remember the covenant. To remember the covenant. All right. So every 7 days, we ought to be still, allow your body to rest, to enjoy your family, to enjoy one another. Maybe you don't interact through the week the way you would rather do so, but the Shabbat is an opportunity for fathers to sit with their families, having worked all week, to sit and to guide their family in the way of the Lord, to keep their children in remembrance of God, his love, his will, and his way. A time for us to recount the goodness of God in all that he has done for us, right? Our creator, our provider, our protector. He who makes a way when there seems to be no way, right? He who guides us through this wilderness of life and this journey that we live, right? And to remember the covenant whereby he laid down his life, okay, to pay our sin debt, to bring us into relationship with the Father, okay? So that's what the Shabbat is about. It's not simply a day of rest, right? It's not that. It's not simply a day of, I'm not doing anything today. It's a day unto the Lord. It's for our benefit, that we might take that time to draw nigh unto God, right? It's the only day of the creation that is set apart and has its own particular blessing attributed to it. You see that? Okay? So rest, remembrance, and reflection. Rest, remembrance, and reflection of the goodness of God. Okay? All right. So that being the case, well, you say, Will, do you celebrate Shabbat? I do celebrate Shabbat when I have opportunity to celebrate Shabbat. Okay? When I have opportunity. Now, let's say I'm celebrating Shabbat and a issue or a need arises. Do I say I can't go do that because I'm celebrating Shabbat? No, by no means. Because then I'm demonstrating that I don't understand Shabbat. And that's why Yeshua oftentimes jumped in the case of the religious leaders, because they were holding so firm to the notion of Shabbat that they were not filling out or performing the heart of Shabbat. That's why he said, which of you, if his ox or his ass falls into a ditch on the Sabbath, will he not reach down and get him out, or unloose him on the Sabbath and go and water him? Right? So it's okay to do that for an animal, but if a human being has need, if a human being needs you on the Shabbat, you forsake the care of another because you're saying, well, I can't do that because I'm keeping Shabbat. Then you don't understand Shabbat. You don't understand it. Shabbat doesn't mean I no longer have to live a life to the glory of God. If my neighbor needs me and it happens to fall on Shabbat, I'm going to help them on Shabbat. I'm not bound to keep Shabbat, right? Why? Christ is the end of the law, okay? B, it is the heart of Shabbat. Love thy neighbor as thyself. You see? So 613 laws were given to the Jews. 2 were given to you and I. And in essence, only 1. What do you mean? The 2 that were given to us is love the Lord thy God, right? With all your heart, soul, and strength, right? And 1 is like unto it. Love your neighbor as yourself. What do the 2 have in common? The first one has love towards God. The second one has love towards your neighbor. So he gave us 1 law, the law of love. The law of love. Okay? Not legalism. Not pointing the finger saying, "Ooh, you're not supposed to be doing that. Ooh, you're being legalistic, blah, 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 blah." My relationship with God is between me and God. I don't have to answer to you. You don't have to answer to me, right? But love ought to be the motivating factor behind all things that we do. Our love for God and our willingness to serve him, okay, and obey him. All right, so the Shabbat has never been terminated. It's never been terminated. The legalistic requirement of it has been lifted. You understand? So if you have the opportunity to be still on his day, the day he established, remember, Adam's first day was Shabbat. Shabbat predates the law, okay? The law didn't come for another about 2,500 years. About 2,500 years before the law came, which the law was given to Moses, right? Or to the Jewish people. So the Sabbath has been, Yeshua kept the Sabbath. Paul kept the Sabbath. The first generation of believers, which were Messianic, by the way, they kept the Shabbat, right? Not in a sense of legalism did they do it. And nor do I. When I go on vacation, I don't keep the Shabbat. I'm on vacation, right? If I'm out of town, it said, remember the Sabbath. Remember it. Pause in that day. Even if you don't full-fledged celebrate it, pause on that day and acknowledge, Lord, I remember your love for me. I remember that you are he who holds my life in your hand. Right? But what do we do? We treat it like it's just a normal day, or a day off. I can go out and do all the things I want to do. And that's because of our ignorance. God still loves you, don't get me wrong. But it's like an affinity when you speak, when you make an attempt to speak someone else's language, you are showing an affinity towards them, right? And that's a kind gesture. And so the acknowledgement of the Shabbat is a gesture toward God. Okay? Not, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do that. That's legalism. No. Remember the Shabbat to keep it holy. Why? You have been called into holiness, to remind yourself of who you are, okay? And whose you are. All right. So that's what Shabbat means. It means to be separated in covenant. I am separated in covenant with God. If that's the only thing I can remember come this Saturday, then I'm going to acknowledge, Lord, I thank you for this day because I remember that I am separated in covenant unto thee. All right? Okay. So don't allow yourself to be bound to one particular date. The seventh day Adventists kind of hold firm to it. And I think they do so simply because of a lack of understanding. A lack of understanding. No harm, no foul. If that's what you believe, you feel like you need to do. Remember, we just read in Romans 14, if one regards a day, he does so unto the Lord. So that has nothing to do with me. Okay, to each his own in a sense, right? All right. Okay, so I hope you understand a little bit better the Sabbath, the Shabbat. Okay. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to leave them in the comments section. And as always, I pray that you are growing in your faith, that you are certainly spending more time in God's word and searching the scriptures and seeking his face. And I pray that you are living a life that is pleasing in his sight and bringing forth fruit to his praise and glory. All right. As always, if you do not know Christ, if you don't know him, please don't let this day pass. Come into covenant relationship with him today. All right. Come into the kingdom today. Settle that account with the Creator while he grants you grace and mercy. All right. Don't let this day pass. Tomorrow is not promised. The gift is available. The price has already been paid. Okay. All right. Please pray for me. Please lift me up in prayer, as I will lift you up as well. To the praise and glory of God, thank you for joining me. Remember, do not go to heaven alone. Take somebody with you. God bless. Bye now.